ASICS currently operates as a global leader in performance gear. The company maintains industry-leading operating profit margins, with roughly 80% of its revenue now generated through overseas sales. But reaching that scale often creates a fragmentation trap. As heritage brands grow into new territories, their regional offices typically build isolated software systems that don't communicate with the home office in Japan. This map illustrates how that disconnection paralyzes a company. When global inventory and sales data are locked in isolated silos, leadership cannot see the business in real time, making strategic coordination nearly impossible. Mitsuyuki Tominaga was hired to dismantle these walls. To understand the specific mindset he brought to this corporate gridlock, we have to look back to a tennis court in Florida in the early 1980s. Tominaga had moved to the US with the goal of becoming a professional athlete. Instead, he found himself overwhelmed by international players whose speed and focus were so superior that he frequently found himself swinging at empty air. Realizing he would never reach the pro tour, he made a calculation. He decided to take the tactical, court-reading mindset he developed in tennis and apply it to the one arena where he could still compete globally: business. To forge the discipline he felt he lacked, Tominaga made a radical shift. He enrolled in a strict U.S. military academy. This image of the cadet formation shows the environment he entered. New students were stripped of their identity, referred to as rats, and forced into cycles of push-ups for the smallest tactical errors. In an environment where he was constantly at the bottom of the hierarchy, Tominaga began to view the low point as a baseline for experimentation. He decided that if things couldn't get worse, he might as well use the pressure to see how much he could iterate on his own performance. That resilience was required immediately when he joined the New York office of Andersen Consulting. Management was explicit about the odds. Out of a class of 20 recruits, they told him that only 1 or 2 would still be with the firm in a decade. It was an environment of up or out. Tominaga noticed that while many of his peers were good at presentations, few understood the underlying systems of the burgeoning digital economy. He spent his nights and weekends earning an MBA, training himself to use IT as the primary leverage point for managing global scale. By the time he left the US, these high-pressure environments had provided 2 tools: the psychological grit to handle institutional resistance, and the technical fluency to architect complex global systems. Tominaga moved to IBM Japan and later SAP, focusing specifically on using digital systems to help Japanese manufacturers manage their overseas operations. However, he watched from the outside as massive integration projects failed. As this image of legacy server mainframes suggests, these systems are incredibly difficult to move once they are established within a corporate culture. Tominaga spotted a pattern in these failures. The technology usually worked, but the projects stalled because the top executives weren't personally committed to the change. Without a leader at the very top who understood the digital goal, the systems eventually collapsed. In 2018, ASICS, one of his consulting clients, offered him a path to solve that. They asked him to stop advising from the outside and join the company as their internal IT lead. For the first time, Tominaga wasn't just recommending a strategy, he was the executive responsible for the results. He had the opportunity to be the committed leader he had spent years looking for during his time as a consultant. Tominaga's first move at ASICS was to force the unification of the company's regional systems. It was a high-friction process that required overriding decades of established departmental habits. The result of that unification is shown here. As the scattered data nodes pull into a unified core, the guesswork in the business disappears. Leadership can finally see global inventory levels and sales figures in real time. With the data centralized, ASICS stopped viewing itself as just a footwear manufacturer, becoming a digital service provider. This expanded loop represents the running ecosystem. Digital touchpoints track runner performance, creating a continuous consumer relationship beyond one-off retail sales. This shift had a massive financial impact. By optimizing inventory and deepening customer loyalty through the ecosystem, ASICS reached the top tier of profitability in the sports industry. Now serving as CEO, Tominaga still operates with a tactician's precision. Whether he's measuring the ingredients in his daily protein smoothies or playing paddle with investors to shrink the distance between himself and his partners. The tennis career Tominaga wanted ended in a Florida winter 4 decades ago. But by applying a court tactician's mindset to global data architecture, he navigated his way to the top of the sports industry from the